All right. Welcome back to the coolest podcast to keep you from sleeping hot.
No, Shane, you blow the opening every time. It's the hottest podcast to keep you sleeping cool.
No, it's not, Greg. It's the coolest. I'm telling you, it's the coolest podcast.
All right, well, how about we agree to disagree on this one? So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Better Sleep Tonight with Greg and Shane. I'm Greg.
And I'm Shane. And we're back after an extended leave due to one of the biggest weeks in retail year-round. And that was Thanksgiving week. So we were fortunate enough, we were closed on Thanksgiving. We got to spend time with our family. But Friday, we were busy in here. People were asking all kinds of questions, and it kept us real busy even during when we had our computers down. Right, Greg?
That's right. But you know what's cool, Shane, is people came in with a lot of good questions. So I think today we should tackle at least one of those. How you feeling about it?
I'm feeling good. But before we get to that, let's cover a couple other grounds real quick. For those of you that are just finding this show somehow, whether it's on YouTube or Facebook or one of your favorite podcasting apps, we want you guys to take a moment, go to our Facebook page, facebook.com/puresleeputica, and give us a big old thumbs up. We're still at 75. We're trying to hit 100. And what are we doing once we hit 100?
Well, Shane, the favorite thing that we do here is when we get to 100, we give away something for free. And I'm getting excited about it. How about you?
I'm pretty excited about it, too. And I believe what we were planning on giving away was a free pillow, right, Greg?
That's correct.
So, the pillow is an essential tool for improving your sleep. It's one of the cheapest and easiest ways that you can improve your sleep. And you know what? Once we hit 100, someone's going to get picked, and we're going to have a lucky winner. So make sure you like us on there. If you haven't already, subscribe to us on YouTube. Click the bell. Get it on. Let us show up in your YouTube feed if you'd rather watch our videos through YouTube. So I know what you're talking about. You had that one lady that was in here, and she asked you about, she was talking a lot about tossing and turning and saying she didn't feel like she got a lot of sleep. And what did you get into with her?
Well, we got into REM sleep and REM sleep, and I thought it might be a good topic to cover today because I think all of us could use the information to get a better night's sleep.
Absolutely. Now, there is a lot of information out there on the different cycles of sleep, and it honestly can be a bit confusing. So we're going to try to take our time to give you this information as we go, make sure that we're as clear as we possibly can with the information that we give you, so that way it's actually helpful. So it's going to be a little bit of a longer episode. That's what we're anticipating at least. And hopefully it's going to be one of the more valuable episodes for everybody out there. Right, Greg?
I hope so, because this is a question that comes up quite often. I know looking through some of our notes and things on REM sleep, I noticed that people that don't get enough REM sleep, Shane, are spending $10 billion a year on coffee and energy drinks. If we got the right REM sleep, would we need all that?
No, and you know what's even worse is that there's a lot of money also being spent in pharmaceuticals to help people get aided to fall asleep quicker, which is another version of a sleep disorder. Was it about 56 million prescriptions a year for sleep drugs?
Yeah, it's up 54% in the last 4 years, and it's really funny. The advertising dollars from Ambien and Lunesta alone are $230 million.
That's insane. And only in the United States, capitalism will take effect, because there's a lot of countries out there, Greg, you know this, that you're not allowed to advertise for any kind of prescription medicine, including stuff like Ambien or anything like that would help you go to sleep. So sometimes pharmaceuticals is taken more as a business than it is as a necessity. There's people that are taking medication that they wouldn't have to take, and they're being put to be more reliable on that medication than they should have to be, because they're going to their doctors, and instead of them saying, how old's your mattress, maybe that might be a factor. Now, I'm sure there are people out there that have things like insomnia, where no matter how hard they try, they have a harder time falling asleep.
Well, I want people out there to know, Shane and Greg are not doctors. We are educators of sleep, though. And, it's funny, a good night's sleep can make the difference between a productive day and a non-productive day, Shane. So I think a lot of times we see people in here that with the right mattress, the right pillow, the right sleep essentials, that we can get them into a sleep cycle that actually improves their life, correct?
Yeah, and that's, when we're talking to customers, we're educating them on, the information they're allowing us to have about themselves and the types of materials that are used in mattresses that would help them out specifically. You and I both know that, you can't take a person to a mattress until you've figured out enough about what they're looking for. There are people out there that will just they have a favorite mattress in the store, and they're just going to drop them at that mattress first. And, it's not one size fits all. It's a matter of making sure that it's something that is built specifically with that customer's needs in mind. Because if not, then you're not going to find anything for them at the end of the day. So that's really important. So, you're talking about sleep cycles, you're talking about REM and NREM, but, to some people, they don't know what that means. And are those the only two cycles or stages of your sleep?
Well, I'll tell you what, Shane, let's go ahead and just start at the beginning. Let's get some basic information out there, guys. So usually sleepers pass through 5 stages of sleep cycles. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then REM, which is rapid eye movement sleep. These stages progress cyclically from 1 through REM, and then begin again with stage 1. A complete sleep cycle takes an average of 90 to 110 minutes, guys, with each stage lasting between 5 and 15 minutes. The first sleep cycles each night have relatively short REM sleeps and long periods of deep sleep, but later in the night, REM periods lengthen and the deep sleep time decreases. So let's go over the stages of sleep. There's 5, correct?
Yeah, so there's the 4 stages in non-REM. There are the 4 stages that are in non-REM, and then finally you get to REM. And as you described, as the night goes on, you don't spend as much time in each stage throughout the night. Sleep cycles average between 100 to 120 minutes, but it's worth noting that first sleep cycle is about 90 minutes long. So most people tend to go through 4 to 5 cycles a night.
Okay, well, let's start out. Let's describe stage 1, Shane. So stage 1 in your sleep cycle is a light sleep where you drift kind of in and out of sleep. You can be awakened real easily. And in this stage, your eyes move slowly and your muscle activity slows down. During this stage, many people kind of experience sudden muscle contractions and then preceded by a sensation of falling. Okay? So then we go to stage 2, and in stage 2, eye movement stops and brain waves become slower with occasional bursts of rapid brain waves. The body begins to prepare for a deep sleep as your body temperature begins to drop and the heart rate slows. And Shane, we talk a lot about temperature here. So that would kind of correspond with stage 2, correct?
Correct. Yeah, so Greg, to your point, as your body is beginning to prepare for deep sleep, your body temperature begins to drop a little bit and the heart rate starts to slow. Now, stage 1 and 2 are both in the light sleep part of the sleep cycle. Greg, one of the things that you had talked about was in stage 1 and stage 2. Stage 2 is your main body of light sleep. You start to have memory consolidation. There's some more to it than that. But, when they look at the first 4 stages of sleep, of your sleep cycle, you have stage 1 and 2. Those are grouped together as your light sleep. Stages 3 and 4 are, described as your deep sleep. And deep sleep is what people really need, is it not?
That is exactly what people need.
So why do we bring up sleep cycles when we have customers? I'll tell you why. We all need to get a good amount of sleep per night. And of that time that you're asleep, you should be spending an amount of time in REM and a certain amount of time in deep sleep. Because if you're not, then you're actually going to end up waking up feeling foggier, more tired, more drained. And that's when things happen that people don't want, like car accidents. People that are more tired tend to have less timing judgments on the road. That's not good for any of us. So it's really important that we talk about this stuff with customers. So things that prevent people from going through an entire cycle of sleep would be things like partner disturbance, transfer of motion, tossing and turning. A couple of things that you can do to prevent those things is, first of all, making sure that you have a mattress that's going to provide you enough pressure relief for when you're on your side. But also, when we talk about partner disturbance or motion transfer, it happens a lot. People work different shifts at work. Some people take more time to get ready for work than others. If they take an extra hour to get ready and they wake up an hour before you, then what happens is that in some cases, if your mattress is an older type of mattress, it's probably made of a continuous coil. And in those cases, there's a lot of motion transfer, people getting in and out of bed. So we have people here, a lot of customers that I've had, want to try out that specifically. I'll do a blind test, have them both lay down, put blindfolds over their eyes, and I'll tell one of them to get out of bed, and we time to see how long it takes the other person to recognize that that person got out of the bed. The point of that is that if you're asleep, if you're still in your deep sleep, you're not going to get disturbed. And that's something that's, a test that I would say for anybody out there to try out when they go to a store trying out mattresses.
Well, so you bring up one of the main things here is, do you have the proper equipment to get into a sleep cycle? So do you have the proper support for your mattress? Do you have the right pillow for your head? Some other things that can factor in there is some of the behavior that we do. Exercising during the day instead of exercising at night, giving your brain time to wind down a little bit. Your environment, right, Shane? You got noise, you got temperature, you mentioned partner disturbance. Those are all important factors of the sleep cycle too, correct?
Yeah, so, if you look at smartphones, a lot of phones the last few years have started using adaptive display technologies to change the color of the screen or the warmth of the screen from being more of a cold, which is what we normally look at a screen in daytime, or like a blue backlight color, to more of a yellowish tint, so that way it doesn't promote our brain staying on longer. That's one of the things a lot of people have issues with is, they leave their TVs on and try to fall asleep to it. But those light patterns can interfere with your brain waves when you're sleeping. I know it sounds like wacko science, but it's really not. There's a lot of research that's been done on the subject. And think about it, a lot of people wake up with the sun. Maybe not in Michigan because it comes out so late in the day, but, especially during summertime, if the sun comes up at 6 or 7, it's really hard to ignore that light. Right, Greg?
Well, yeah, because I'll tell you something. You know what happens when light enters your sleep cycle, right? So when we bring light into the bedroom and take ourselves out of a sleep cycle, we also release another chemical called cortisol, which causes fight or flight syndrome, which really interferes with sleep, because you've never seen a guy fall asleep in the middle of a bar fight, right? Because he's got fight or flight syndrome going. So those are all things that can knock you out of a sleep cycle, and all things that we talk about here when you come in to buy a mattress. So I'm glad you brought that up, Shane.
So we've covered a little bit about the earlier stages of sleep, and we started talking about the deep stages of sleep. But what does deep sleep get us? What's in it for us to get deep sleep?
Well, the nice thing about deep sleep, Shane, is it's very restorative. It helps, too, to kind of make the brain file away the important things, to get rid of some of the junk. Again, I mentioned melatonin. We produce melatonin during a sleep cycle in deep sleep. So it's really, really important. It keeps us from being groggy in the morning. So these sleep cycles, especially deep sleep, are very, very, very important.
They really are. You talked about it a little bit, but stages 3 and 4 are really, really important for us because they allow us to not only mentally refresh, but also physically heal. So if you have some kind of, if you have the flu or a cold, a lot of people will tell you, just go home and, sleep it off. And it kind of sounds almost insulting, but, it's not. It's saying sleep it off means, allowing your body to help provide support to that ailment. And whether it's that or, maybe you bumped your arm and you bruised it, your body, when you're in stage 4, kind of goes into a maintenance mode and starts to go through all these different stages it has to help you heal. For example, when you hit your stage 4, anywhere where you're damaged, your body, if especially if it's not like a chronic, if it's more of an acute thing, if it's something that just happened, like if you broke your arm, if you have something like that going on, your body will send excess blood to that area to help restore and rebuild, and it can do more of that when you're sleeping than it really can while you're moving through the day, because it needs that blood for everything else. Your heart's beating to keep you conscious. It's really important. Again, if you toss and turn, you break the cycles of sleep, and it's going to keep you further and further away from getting full night's rest. How much of the night do you think people are supposed to get of REM sleep?
Well, according to all the research we've done, Shane, REM sleep occurs about 25% of the night, and that's a healthy REM sleep pattern. Your non-REM sleep, obviously, then occurs 75% of the time. REM sleep, although it's a lower number percentage-wise, it's also our most restorative sleep. And in order to do that, that's why we brought up your environment, your temperature, partner disturbance, because if all that's going on, you're not going to get to REM sleep. And again, I guess we should probably throw out there for people that don't know what REM sleep is, it's also known as rapid eye movement sleep, because your brain waves kind of mimic the activity during your waking state. So your eyes remain closed, but they move rapidly from side to side. And that's usually related to intense dream and brain activity that occurs during the REM cycle.
And that brings us to a good point. So how much sleep is right for different people based off their age? There's a lot of interesting numbers out there, and I'm using the National Sleep Foundation's numbers for this because they're the most important resource that you and I have, not only for people that are doing this show, but, as a reference to give to our customers when they want to check out some of the information that we've given them. And so I check this website all the time. And for a newborn, it's recommended that they get 14 to 17 hours, but they say 11 to 19 hours may be appropriate, depends on that child and their specific needs. An infant recommended 12 to 15 hours, but can get anywhere from 10 to 18. Now, when they get a little bit older, 1 to 2 years, Greg, how much sleep are they saying that they could probably get?
You're talking about a 1 to 2 year old, they're talking about 14 to 15 hours a day. And of course, that depends on the child. But it is recommended 14 to 15 hours a day for an infant, about 2 to 12 months old. And we forgot, what about adolescents, Shane? What about our teenagers?
Well, once you get through preschool, which preschool, they say anywhere from 8 to 14 hours, but, again, 10 to 13 is really what they're looking for. 9 to 11 hours a night. So, I put my daughter to bed at 7:30, and the reason I do that is because she doesn't go to sleep as soon as she gets in bed. She takes a little bit of time, but, they want 9 to 11 hours. So if she falls asleep at 9 o'clock, then she should have enough sleep come 6 o'clock in the morning, although she's not waking up till about 7:30.
So that's good. That's good to know. So basically what I'm hearing from you is we should definitely, especially with our children, set a pattern of sleep cycles, correct?
Yes, because if you set a pattern, it'll actually help out with your circadian rhythm. So your circadian rhythm is different than your cycles of sleep, and we'll get to that. We want to cover the adults, the teenagers. Teens, 7 to 11 hours, 8 to 10 is ideal. Young adults, this is just a number that I can totally relate to. 6 hours of sleep, upwards of 11 hours of sleep. I'll tell you what, I've had several nights where I only got about 6 hours of sleep, and that was a little bit rough. But adults from 26 on up to about 64, they say 6 to 10 hours is realistically the ideal maximum and minimum, and 7 to 9 hours is really what you need. And anyone older than that, 7 to 8 hours. So the number doesn't really change a lot, it doesn't seem. But it's interesting because once you get to 65 or older, you require less sleep.
You require less sleep?
Yeah, so they say you can get 5 to 6 hours of sleep. 7 to 8 is ideal, and 9 is the max. 9 hours for an older person is the max.
Well, here, I'll tell you what, Shane, let me throw this out. Let's go ahead and give these guys in the audience what the real terminology of a circadian rhythm is. So let's go through this. The circadian rhythm dips and rises at different times of the day. So adults' strongest sleep usually occurs between 2 and 4 a.m. And then in the afternoon, between 1 and 3. That's why in other countries, unlike the United States, we take siestas, which helps to control your circadian rhythm. So the sleepiness we experience during these circadian dips will be less intense if we've had sufficient sleep, and more intense when we're sleep deprived. So again, circadian rhythm goes back to REM sleep. If we're getting enough REM sleep, our rhythms work through the day better for us. In this country, we don't take siestas. So we're going to have, peaks and valleys with alertness, with energy. But if we get good REM sleep and good sleep cycles, we'll have less of a groggy feeling in the middle of the day. So this is really, again, your restorative process at night actually helps with your circadian rhythm during the day. Well, let's go backwards a little bit here. So we talked about circadian rhythm. We talked about sleep cycles. I found some interesting facts that we did kind of touch on. But after talking about how much sleep you need, let's kind of go through this. Infants spend 50% of their time in REM sleep. Adults spend nearly half of their sleep time in stage 2, 20% in REM, and the other 30% is divided between the other 3 stages. Older adults, which you touched on, like me, we spend progressively less time in REM sleep. That's why we're always so tired. So kind of interesting that each person individually throughout their years, kind of their sleep cycles change, which is kind of neat. It's something that if you don't do the research, you wouldn't really know.
You know what, Greg? You bring up a lot of really good points talking about the different stages of sleep, the different cycles, REM sleep versus non-REM sleep, even going into circadian rhythm, how much sleep people should get. I think we've covered quite a bit this week regarding sleep cycles. It might be something that we again need to come back to, revisit, broaden our topic. It's a little bit hard at the time when we're recording episodes to know what we miss. So we like to go back through and listen to them all. And I think so far with our conversation, it doesn't seem like we've missed very much. Let's do this. Let's call it a show for this week. We might come back and revisit this topic. We might actually do an episode that ties all this stuff together. I was starting to go there earlier when I was talking about conversations we have with customers about tossing and turning. You just had a customer in here and she has a new mattress, and she was talking about how she didn't want to toss and turn anymore. So it's interesting. I think if we can really tie it all together for people and go from discussing the different type of support, the different type of foams, to sleep cycles and how different types of mattresses affect your sleep cycles, I think we'll hit a home run.
I think you're right, Shane. I think we definitely need to tie it together. But there is so much information that it's very hard to do this in one brief session. So I definitely think we should revisit it. And I think it's a question that will continue to come up. And as more research is done, we'll have more answers for you.
Let's call it a show for the week. And next week, we'll surprise you with another one. Just as a reminder, subscribe to us on your favorite platform. Find us on Facebook, and feel free to leave us any kind of questions you might have, because as you know, we will cover them in another episode. All right, Greg, you got anything else to say?
I think that wraps it up for today, Shane.
All right, well, until next
week,
have a great night's sleep.
Have a great night's sleep.
Have a great night's sleep.
And remember, get into that REM sleep.
And remember, get in that REM sleep.